Thanks for joining the Know It All podcast on this Take Tuesday. I'm the Know It All that knows the most. I'm here by myself this week. Don't have the homies Mod and Big G with me, so I can really flex my knowledge. If you like the content and like what we do, you know, please like and subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, and follow us on Instagram. But what I'm going to talk about today is two co-pilots, no captain. But before we get into that, let's get into this. Again, thanks for joining me on this Take Tuesday. And what we're going to talk about today is two co-pilots, no captain. And we're talking about in the context of sports, in particular, the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets were swept last night out the playoffs by the Boston Celtics. And, there was a lot of high expectations for Brooklyn this year. They were favored by Vegas to have the highest championship odds and highest odds to win the championship. That obviously didn't happen. They had a pretty tumultuous year. A lot of things going on. First, we had Kyrie Irving and his no vaccination stance. He wouldn't take the vaccination. So in New York had a mandate that you couldn't be in a public place of a certain capacity if you're not vaccinated. So Kyrie couldn't play home games until he didn't get to play probably till sometime in February, home games once the mandate was lifted. But everybody else on the team took their vaccination and was there to play. And that had a trickle down effect. Kyrie not being there. Not only was he not on the court, being one of their two or three great players, future Hall of Fame players, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden at the time. James Harden didn't much care for that. So he kind of forced his way out of town. He left and got traded to Philly. So this is where we are. Brooklyn traded James Harden to Philadelphia, for Ben Simmons, Philadelphia's having problems with Ben Simmons. So they traded those players. Thing is, Ben Simmons never played. He never got on the court in Brooklyn from the time of the trade deadline, I believe like middle of February, up until last night, their last playoff game. He never played. And I don't know what Ben Simmons will ultimately bring. He's been all first team NBA All Defense a couple of times. He's been an All-Star 3 times. He's a good player, but I don't know that his mind and his heart is in it. And I don't know that Kyrie is dedicated. He's a great player, but I don't know that he's dedicated. So what we're talking about, two co-pilots. I believe Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are both co-pilots, not captains. And in order for a captain to steer a ship to the championship, you got to have that captain. And Kyrie Irving got his first and only championship with LeBron James in Cleveland in 2016. LeBron James was clearly the best player. Kyrie Irving was great in a supporting cast role. A great supporting cast role, a great player in that role. I mean, he certainly was probably more than what Robin is to Batman. Kyrie was probably more to LeBron James, but he still wasn't the leader of that team. Then Kevin Durant got his 2 championships and both his finals MVPs in Golden State. If you remember, after the 2016 season, when the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors, the 73-win Golden State Warriors, that's an all-time record for wins in the season. LeBron James and Kyrie Irving beat that Golden State team in the championship. After that season, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they all conspired to try and get Kevin Durant, who was a free agent that summer, to come to Golden State. And Kevin Durant was kind of fed up with Russell Westbrook and just where the direction that was going in. Hard to win with Russ. We look in retrospect, Russ in Oklahoma with OKC, with KD in OKC, we can see that really never worked. They went to the playoffs quite a few times. They went to the finals early with James Harden in OKC against the Miami Heat in 2012, and they lost. But Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook just didn't vibe on the court. So Kevin Durant went to Golden State the summer of 2016. And Golden State was going to win 2 championships in a row against the Cleveland Cavaliers, both times. Win both those championships, and Kevin Durant was the MVP in both those championships. He was the MVP of the finals both times, but he was the best player on Golden State. Kevin Durant's probably arguably better than Steph Curry, definitely better than Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But again, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are best served when they can just hoop. They're just hoopers. They all-time great hoopers, all-time go get a bucket guys, but strictly just hoopers. They don't want to get involved in the minutia and what it takes to be the leader and lead a team. I don't know if they have those personalities. So we have those two together in Brooklyn. Great players, great bucket getters, probably 2 of the best scorers on one team in NBA history, arguably, I would say. I can't think of 2 better. Maybe I can't even think of 2 equal to, but there could be 2 equal to. But Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving together are probably 2 of the best scorers ever assimilated on an NBA team. But as I said last night, they were swept by the Boston Celtics, who have a good young team, a first-year coach, Ime Udoka. Jason Tatum's the man on that team. You got Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year. And they kind of just took it to Brooklyn. Brooklyn was small. They're small. Kevin Durant's probably the biggest person on the court. They have Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, Steph Curry, Goran Dragic. So they play small, and Boston was really just kind of taking it to them in the paint and beating them in rebounds and just out-toughing them. Like they lack that toughness. They put Blake Griffin in for a few minutes in game 3 and 4, and he kind of showed up and got some hustle points and some scrappiness going, but that's just not who they are. And even by a rookie coach, Steve Nash was out-coached by Ime Udoka. Udoka sat on the bench with the Brooklyn Nets last year under Steve Nash. Before that, he was in San Antonio under Greg Popovich. So even though that he was a rookie coach, he had a lot of on-bench experience from his tenures in San Antonio and Brooklyn and those places. And Udoka's married to Nia Long, so he must be a pretty good dude because she's beautiful. That was a side note. I'm sorry. But so closing out now, the Brooklyn Nets, what do they do from here? I'm not quite sure. Take a listen to a partial soundbite of Kevin Durant's post-game press conference from last night and Kyrie Irving's post-game press conference from last night. Kevin Durant seems really down, depressed, and deflated. You know, he's going to miss getting up, going to the gym every morning to go work out and get ready for, you know, what in basketball season. Kyrie Irving, on the other hand, is trying to play the game, play the role. He wants to sound deflated. He has a contract coming up. He can opt in for $36.5 million, or he can opt out for the max with Brooklyn and get 5 years, $250 million. That's about $50 million a year. But if I'm Brooklyn, I don't know if I pay Kyrie Irving that and sign him to that deal. I would hope he signs one for the $36.5 million, because I don't want to pay him $50, because Kyrie is basically unreliable. I mean, he wouldn't get the vaccination. He missed half the games there. Last season, he didn't want to go to the bubble a couple seasons ago when they were in the bubble. He took off time because he said he was dealing with the trauma he was dealing with from the Capitol riots, the January 6th riots in in 2020. I guess that was 2021. In 2021. And so, he's just not reliable. In 11 years, Kyrie Irving has played 60 games 4 times in 11 seasons. So, we really can't count on Kyrie Irving. We can count on him when he's on the court to get buckets and be a factor that way, but we got to be able to be able to build our team and know what to expect from each player. Sometimes the best ability is availability, is what they say in sports. And we don't know if Kyrie's going to be available. And I personally don't think Kyrie has a whole lot of leverage. I mean, he's owed $36.5 million if he opts in, which he probably should do. If he opts out, Brooklyn decides they don't want to pay him the $50 million a year to Supermax, then I don't know what leverage he has in way of other teams. Other teams has seen Kyrie do all these different antics and different things, and what's really inside the vaccination. The earth is flat. All these different things that go on in Kyrie Irving's head. I don't know that many teams want to deal with that. I mean, so he probably is best suited to opt in for the 36.5. Ben Simmons, who knows what's going on with him? I mean, can you imagine that? What kind of team do we have if we have Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons on the same team, and Kevin Durant's the best player, but we lack a true leader? I don't know what we do. I've heard through sources today that Steve Nash will probably be back. There was a lot of talk about they got swept, he might be fired, but they're talking about Steve Nash may be back. And let's not forget, when these guys first got together, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they said, oh, we don't need a coach. And as you heard in Kyrie Irving's post-game press conference, now this guy just included himself. He gave himself a promotion. He thinks he's like co-management. He's up there with the general managers. He said, me and Kevin manage a team. And, in full disclosure, the end part of that clip got cut off. He said with the GM and with the owner. So, but I don't know how Kyrie can just put himself in that position. All we need you to do, Kyrie, is come to work on time, come to work ready to play ball. That's what we need you to do, Kyrie. So for the Brooklyn Nets next year, I mean, they have too much talent not to be good. I'm interested to see how they incorporate Ben Simmons, or if he even plays. First, it was mental health. Then he got to Brooklyn. Then it was his back. Now, when he was supposed to come play for Game 4 last night, it was his mental health again. But I think he thought they were going to lose. But I think Ben Simmons just really doesn't like the pressure associated with professional sports. But when you're owed $115 million over the next 3 years, Ben Simmons, you kind of got to get out there and play the game and do the work with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant I have no problem with. He's just not the leader. He's a hooper. He had Boston D'd him up, was physical with him. He had a bad series. But I think Kevin Durant will be back. Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons is a different question. But we'll see. And the know-it-alls will get into this a lot more over the offseason for the NBA. Right now, we're kind of focused on NFL draft. It's coming up Thursday night. And we'll just go from there. And again, thanks for joining me for this Take Tuesday. We'll be back with a Big G burner sometime this week in Mod's Moments. Sunday is our regular show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll just go from there. So thanks for joining me, the know-it-all that knows the most. Peace.